What NFC South running back just got a big vote of confidence from his GM? What's the proper approach to trading rookie draft picks this time of year? And who beat who on the I Got 5 on it board for 2019? Plus, last season's FFPC $500 number 28 Dynasty champion Nate Harris hops aboard to talk about his favorite rookie this year, Nyheim Hines, Julian Edelman, and much more. We've got a great show for you. Dave Gerzak is here. I'm Eric Balkman. Stick around. Your HSFF Hour Season 8 finale starts now.
Clap your hands, everybody, if you got what it takes. Because I'm KRS and I'm on the mic. And
Broadcast live and heard around the world, you are now listening to the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. It's the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for football analysis from the best fantasy players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak.
with the master rhymer, that's the lead behind the video rapper. You know the truck driver, tapper. Down goes another rapper, on to another battle. Punch up the data,
Hey, thanks so much, Rob. Greetings and salutations, all of you Balkaholics and Gerzakin addicts. Welcome to the latest episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com. I'm your slightly above average host, Eric Balkman, and my co-host is the patron saint of fantasy football, the Dizzle, Dave Gerzak. And Dave, I said it in the cold open, this is our final episode of Season 8. Next Friday, which will be our last Friday show before the NFL Draft, we will be kicking off Season 9 of this. If you would have told me, Balky, we're going to have 9 seasons of this going on before we ever end it, way back when in 2012 when we started this, 2012, 2011, 2012, April 2012. What would the chances have been that we would have hit Season 9, in your mind? Percentage chance.
Like 10%.
And Season 2 would have been about 15%.
No, maybe it's 40 or 50. I figured maybe after like 3 years we finally would give it up, and I wish we had.
The people keep asking for more.
So much time I would have back.
Yeah, it is it's time consuming. Think about all the trips that you could have made.
All the vacations.
Where you weren't thinking about the show.
I know.
Where you could have not been thinking about the show.
That's so great. Yeah, and all the guest hosts that have that. I mean, I like because they get an extra opportunity to be on here and talk to you all.
Oh, they love it. Yeah. No, it's fun. And we're thrilled that everybody has enjoyed it, and we're going to keep doing it for as long as we can, or at least I will.
I take vacations.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, you mean the show?
The show, yes.
Right.
On the show tonight, we're going to discuss that other Rams tight end and go through the final I Got 5 on it board from 2019. We're also going to talk to FFPC 500 Dynasty number 28 champion Nate Harris about how he put together his Dynasty title, his own trade for Brandon Cooks, and much more. Shout out to the chat room right now. If you all have any questions, post them in there. The show is at HSFF Hour. I am at Eric Balkman. Dave is at David Gerzak on Twitter. Facebook.com/HSFF Hour is where to find us there. And if you want to hang out with us on the air, 347-426-3682. That's 347-GAME-OVA. You can also email the show at the inbox, highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com. That is where to send your questions. Of course, your tweets and emails will get answered as much as we can tonight. I know we got a big show. We got 10 pounds of show in a 5-pound bag. It's going to be tough. The audio engineer and my best friend is Bryce. Of course, mutual friend Rob is producing once again tonight. Hey, a reminder, Best Ball Slim Leagues and other Best Balls, including Superflexes, are also active. MyFFPC.com. Check those out. We have live and slows with 60-second, 2-hour, and 6-hour clocks. Get in on that FFPC main event early bird. And, of course, Dynasty Startups still available, all at MyFFPC.com. And I believe about a week and a half from now, be paying attention to that FFPC newsletter, because I think we will have an announcement about the 2020 Football Guys Players Championship. Am I right, Dave? About a week and a half from today? Yeah,
we've taken quite a bit of time to release the prize pool, but it's coming.
Speaking of quite a bit of time, I didn't bring this up to you off air, so I apologize if I'm putting you on. I can't remember what we did last year, but I think it'd be smart to do the show not next Friday, the week after that, don't do a Friday show, do a Wednesday show the night before the draft, because I don't think too many people are going to be listening Friday of the draft.
Right, and we don't want to be, of course it sucks because what are they going to broadcast? Are they going to show it? Or, are they going to show like?
Yeah, I mean, there's.
It's going to be like it'll be like Hollywood Squares or the Brady Bunch.
Okay.
So they have like 9 rooms.
Right. So we were talking about this on the show with Leo and Balky, which you can hear weekday afternoons from 2 to 3 here.
But not C.
But not C. I think it's going to be a lot like how it's been before. I think the one thing that you're missing is the big crowd shots. Goodell's still going to announce picks. You're still going to have analysis. They're going to show all this B-roll of the players in action. It still will be a studio program. I don't.
But no one's gonna be in the studio.
No, there'll be a few people in the studio. They're actually talking about combining one broadcast between ESPN and NFL.
No, okay.
So you can still be in the studio. I mean, that's the way that they're doing SportsCenter stuff now.
Yeah,
you just got to be 6 feet apart.
It'll probably be fine.
Yeah. So it will be different. It's just I don't think it's going to be radically different like everybody's saying.
So I agree. Wednesday.
So Wednesday, we'll do our our NFL draft preview. That will be coming up then. Thanks to Football Guys, Roto World, and Rob for tonight's rundown. Talk about the big trade that happened this week. Oh, the big trade! John McClain on Twitter says, the Texans acquired Brandon Cooks and a 2022 fourth-rounder from the LA Rams in exchange for the number 57 overall pick in the 2020 draft. The Texans, that is their own pick, but they still got the number 40 overall pick that they got from the Cardinals when they gave up DeAndre Hopkins. So obviously you would imagine that Cooks is going to be playing the DeAndre Hopkins role in that Texans offense. Obviously a massive downgrade, but you consider that he is still a pretty talented guy. He'll be able to do some numbers there. Now, the big concern with him is that he has had 5 concussions since he has been in the NFL. This is the third time he has been traded in 3 years in the NFL, and he's obviously coming off the worst year of his career. Now, he turns 27 years old this coming September, so he's still got technically some pretty significant prime years ahead of him. And you look at who Houston has right now, Will Fuller, who gets hurt a lot. They still have Kenny Stills there. Obviously, they signed Randall Cobb. But you look at Cooks in Houston now, Dave, he's got to be the Texans receiver to own. He is currently now, again, this is going over the last 7 days. So some of this ADP for FFPC best ball is, prior to the Texans trade. But Cooks was going in the 12th round. He has gone as high as the 8th round, wide receiver 46. Does that make sense for you, getting him in the, let's say, mid to late 8th where he settles in? Or is that too high?
If that's where he settles in, yeah, I'm totally fine with taking Cooks, even though he is a high – I don't really in general like Cooks that much. I mean, the fact that he's moved around with all those teams and his concussion history, both are quite scary. But like you said, Will Fuller's is worse. Kenny Stills is definitely not as talented. Cooks is still a talented player, and for whatever reason, he just wasn't getting it done last year. There's the risk that he busts kind of again, so to speak. But there's only 32 teams in the NFL, and he's being drafted in the 40s, and he's almost for sure going to be the number 1 receiver when you have Deshaun Watson throwing to him. What's not to like?
Well, I think you answered your own question, is the concussion issues and the fact that he is coming off his worst season. I look at this from a value standpoint. I think I still might like Randall Cobb in the 18th round better than I like Brandon Cooks in the 8th for best ball.
No, that's fine. I mean, it's a totally different comparison in my opinion.
How so?
I mean, it's a 10-round difference. I mean, so I don't know.
Well, I'm saying from a value perspective. I suppose if you want Cooks, take him, and then you could easily. I mean, Cobb's basically free, so you might as well. If you want to lock up that Texans passing game, which is silly. It sounds silly, but maybe there is something to it in regards to that. Rams, you changing Cooper Kupp or Robert Woods at all? Does that move the needle for them?
Yeah, I like both. I never really drafted much Robert Woods except for when he was a rookie, and then I got rid of him. But I'm in on Woods for sure, and I've liked Kupp the whole time. And yeah, I think so actually. I
had one draft already this season where I think I took Kupp in the late 3rd, and I was pretty happy about it. No, it might have been the 4th because I think he was my number 3 receiver, so I was loving that. Brandon Cooks, you talked about this before the show started. You own him in Dynasty. Let's say somebody has the 209. They're willing to give you the 209 for Cooks. You doing it?
209 for Cooks.
So we're right in that area.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah, probably not the 209.
Okay.
If I need Cooks, I would like 203, 202 range.
I would totally have the 202 or 203 over Cooks for sure.
Yeah. I mean, keep in mind, I mean, if he doesn't have a concussion, and he has a good season, he is still. There's definitely a ton of downside, but there's a lot of upside. I mean, he's been a top 12 receiver before, or maybe a top 15 receiver, when he was getting targeted.
He had 4 straight 1,000-yard seasons. This is a new record as far as dead money. It was like $21 million or something in dead money. Combined, the Rams have $40 million plus with the Gurley and Cooks dumps this season, which is pretty incredible. There was one other thing I was going to ask you about Brandon Cooks, and now I forgot what it was. Son of a gun. All right, well, we can just move on. If it was that important, I would have remembered.
It is weird, though, just to reiterate, why does the guy keep getting traded?
That was my question.
They keep on saying that he's not like a locker room.
He's great in the locker room. The reports that he's great in the locker room. He's a great teammate. That was my question. Is there something to this that this guy is now on his 4th NFL team? And by the way, look who traded him.
Yeah.
Sean Payton, Bill Belichick, and Sean McVay. I mean, they didn't trade him, but
right.
they obviously were the head coaches there.
And they traded, and they got traded to. It's like each time it got traded to. Oh, let's see, who had him first?
Sean Payton in New Orleans.
Okay, so you can argue it got traded from 2 geniuses to then moving down the intelligence ladder here, and now you're at O'Brien. Now Rivera is going to pick him up next, probably.
Ron Rivera?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just trying to think of something.
Dude, seriously, who's a worse? There's very few head coach / GMs. Bill O'Brien's one of them. He's clearly the worst, I would imagine. I can't think of anybody worse at this point.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're devolving into a football conversation. Let's keep it on fantasy football. Jason Licht. Oh, I didn't tell you this, Dave. There was a great article on ESPN.com behind the scenes of how the Buccaneers signed Tom Brady. Interviews with Bruce Arians, Jason Licht. Their director of player personnel, pro personnel for Tampa, I played football against in high school.
Oh, yeah, cool.
He did I tell you this already or no?
Oh, you might have mentioned it.
He played at Milwaukee Marquette.
Right, okay.
Yeah, he actually ran me over in that game when I was.
Nice.
He was a big-time tight end, and I was a lowly corner. I made the mistake. I should have made the correct business decision and got out of the way. I didn't, and it was bad. All right, anyway, Jason Licht says he, quote, has more faith than ever in Ronald Jones this year, according to Jenna Lane on Twitter. We have more faith in him than we ever have. We have a lot of faith in Ronald. Now, bear this in mind. Peyton Barber is now on the Redskins. Bruce Arians says they're still looking to add a pass-catching back. Ronald Jones averaged 10 yards per catch on his 31 catches last year. He wasn't great last year, but he was a lot better in 2019 than he was in 2018. He's still 22 years old. He turns 23 this year. Who are you believing here, Dave? Believing with Jason Licht that they're loving up on Ronald Jones? You're believing in Bruce Arians from a fantasy standpoint, saying that they still want a pass-catching back on this team?
I believe Arians, although Licht is the one who makes the decisions, I guess. So if he doesn't draft a running back in the first 3 rounds, Rojo's job is pretty safe.
He's going to go all Brad Pitt on his Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yeah, he might. He's like, well, you know what? I'm not drafting running back.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want.
Jones is playing running back today. Well, he can't because he's in Detroit now. Yeah, I think I'm kind of with you on this because, let's say Licht doesn't. It's still on Arians. He could easily not put Ronald Jones on the field. You know what I mean? And put somebody else out there.
It's possible. Yeah, he could do that.
I mean, C.J. Anderson is still out there. There's plenty of running backs still floating around out there that they could add, even if they don't. I mean, it's still, I guess, on Licht to add him to the roster. But we'll see what happens in the draft.
I do think out of the article, when it says that, again, he's still 4 months shy of his 23rd birthday, one of the reasons I was interested in Rojo was I knew he was really young coming out. And at running back, I mean, receiver is another position where, age matters. But coming out really young at running back like that, his first year, he was, I think, just too young or maybe a little immature muscularity.
Right.
His muscularity hadn't come in completely. I don't know. I'm kind of making excuses for his terrible first year. So then,
or are you looking for reasons? There's a difference.
Whatever. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. So then last year he kind of did okay. There's a possibility he does really well now.
Yeah, no, you totally could be right on this. I went casting out my fantasy dynasty fishing rod with Ronald Jones as bait, Dave, and let me tell you, they haven't been biting in weeks. It's been rough.
I dealt Jones last week, and I mean, I don't know. I go back and forth on whether it was an okay trade or not. It was oddly enough for the 209 if I didn't mention it last week.
Oh, maybe that's what. Anyway, all right, listen, we got Nate Harris coming up in just 1 minute here. Before we get to the FFPC 500 number 28 Dynasty champ, let's talk about this issue with the Rams tight ends. According to a report in the USA Today, Sean McVay was quoted as saying he's got to do a better job utilizing Gerald Everett's skill set this upcoming season. Here's the quote from McVay. I think Higbee did a phenomenal job, but Everett's a guy that I've got to do a better job utilizing his skill set because he's a difference maker. He's got to get the opportunities, and I think that starts with some of the things I know I can do a better job of. Now, Let's go back and look at 2019. Everett was 25 last year. He started with 37 catches for 408 yards and 2 touchdowns through the first half of the season. That was 11 yards a catch. He gets his knee hurt in Week 11, and then Higbee goes crazy over the last 5 games. 43 catches, 522 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Everett was the second-round pick. Everett was the first guy Sean McVay's coaching staff ever selected, and he did open as the every down guy there. Everybody's talking about Tyler Higbee right now, and deservedly so, Dave. I mean, you look at his ADP, he's going at the 512. But, man, Gerald Everett, ADP of 1611, I mean, the value there is screaming Everett. I think he's a guy that we should be talking about a little bit more.
Yeah, especially now that Cooks is gone. And it really makes a lot of sense offensively for them to run 2 tight end sets when they have 2 talented tight ends. Almost as if New England was doing it with Gronk and Hernandez way back when, and I'm surprised Philly doesn't do this, like just do a better job of it with Ertz and Goddard. Why not run that personnel where you have the 2 tight ends all the time, the 2 really good receivers, and then you got your run game. To me, that just totally makes logical sense for them to do that.
And be good news for Darrell Henderson too, and to a lesser extent Malcolm Brown, or if they draft somebody. You think the Rams are going to draft somebody this year?
I don't know what picks they have offhand. All I know is that they're in cap hell because of all the big bad signings that they made.
I just feel like they kind of shot their shot last year when they gave up all that capital to get Darrell Henderson.
That's true. And then Malcolm Brown was actually, I guess, pretty serviceable. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm guessing they have other needs.
For the umpteenth time, I'm going to bring up, the Lions signed Malcolm Brown to a nice contract, and the Rams matched it because he was a restricted free agent. So, they like both those guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's get to tonight's guest, ladies and gentlemen. He's
actually, I'm sorry to
go ahead.
Wow, that could have been a sign about the Gurley thing. I mean,
when they matched the Brown thing and then traded up for Henderson.
I didn't really.
But there's plenty of high stakes guys down on Gurley last year.
No, I know. I mean, whatever. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to tonight's guest. I'm going to bring on right now. His first year in the FFPC was way back in 2014. Had one team that did horribly. However, since then, he's added Terminator leagues. He's added Dynasty teams. Usually gets about 4 FFPC teams per year. Won 1 in 17 and 18. And then actually won the 500 number 28 Dynasty League last year. Please welcome into the show Mr. Nate Harris. Nate, happy early Easter, man, and welcome aboard.
Hey, how you doing? Good to be here.
We're doing excellent. Are you staying safe, taking all the precautions, and just delving deep into fantasy football with a little bit of extra time on your hands right now?
Well, I'm still working, so I haven't had as much time for that as I'd like to, but hopefully before the draft here I'll have some time to look into it more.
Let's briefly talk about that before we talk about fantasy football. What are you doing for work right now?
I do salmon monitoring on a couple of rivers in Northern California.
Wow, that's really interesting. That's
wow. This is the first time we've ever heard that. What's that work like, Nate?
We do monitoring the adults when they come into the rivers to spawn, and then we do monitoring of the young when they're emerging, and then they're returning to the ocean. So we kind of get an estimate of their total population and kind of set limits on harvest for the following year.
Oh, my goodness. How long have you been doing this?
10, 12 years now.
Oh, my goodness. That's awesome.
Just curious, was there a college major that kind of was specific to that, or how did you get into that field, if you don't mind me asking? I'm just kind of curious.
My degree is in fisheries and wildlife sciences, so yeah, it was a lot.
So I guess that's a yes. Yeah, well, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, wow. We're so used to talking to lawyers, which are, those guys are losers mostly. So this is really much more of a pleasant experience. We're used to talking to bloodsuckers, which are the lawyers.
Yeah, that is true. And you
family.
think about this. Nate's an expert Dynasty player, Dave. So he's taking the tiny the little babies and raising them into something and growing them into this dominant force. Of course, you don't want it too dominant, obviously. But listen, I'm not the expert. Let's talk fantasy football with Nate here.
Oh man, we're already in bad shape. Anyway, that was my fault. Aaron Jones, Dalvin Cook were big parts of your Dynasty title last year, Nate. Which guy do you think is more likely to duplicate the success that they had last year again this year?
Well, I'm hoping both of them can do similar, but I I think probably Dalvin Cook if he stays healthy. It seems like he has the safer floor of touches, whereas Aaron Jones seemed a little bit more volatile, and even though his peaks were a little higher, he kind of jumped around a lot more than Dalvin did.
Dave, I don't know if you saw this, but Dalvin Cook says he's the best running back in the game.
Well, he should be.
That's that Florida State swagger coming through.
Everyone, the top 10 running backs should all be saying that they're the best.
The top 50 should all be saying that.
Whatever. They should say, yeah, I'm the best. Other than like in the NBA where you really have like the best, like the 2 or 3 guys that you know what
I would be if I was a pro athlete, and I would be the type of guy who would be totally humble, always praising my teammates and talking about how great they're. And then like when some reporter says to me, well, how do you rate yourself? You got this contract coming. Well, yeah, obviously I'm the best. It would just totally catch everybody off guard. I think that'd be fantastic. Nate, let's bring it back to you here. Talk about the Arizona Cardinals. Cliff Kingsbury said earlier this week that he wants to have 3 running backs carry the load for the Arizona Cardinals this year. Now, given that you had Kenyon Drake absolutely crush it down the stretch for you last season, what are your expectations after hearing that for him in 2020? Is he still going to be the man, or are you a little bit more concerned now?
Well, I believed in Drake's talent for a while. I traded for him in almost every league last January, in 2019 January. And I was a little worried going into the season when he was still on Miami. So I was pretty pleasantly surprised when he broke out during the playoffs. So I'm not too concerned with just Chase Edmonds and is that DJ Foster on the team as well. So unless they spend a high draft pick, I'm not too concerned.
Arizona, I got to believe that running back is probably not one of their major concerns high on draft day. I mean, you obviously never know, but, they just slapped the transition tag on Drake. They've talked obviously highly about Chase Edmonds, who's actually performed pretty good in a pinch in years past. So I think I'm kind of with you. Drake is being a little bit undervalued in FFPC best balls right now. You think about where he finished last year, and he's being drafted as the running back 13 in the mid-second. I guess that's not too underrated. I mean, he's going behind Miles Sanders and Austin Eckler, going ahead of guys like Fournette, Jonathan Taylor, and the aforementioned Todd Gurley, who we were talking about before.
Keep in mind, those guys, everyone except for Drake is more, I don't know, a pedigreed proven. Wouldn't you kind of argue that Fournette is even more proven than Drake? Because Drake's had like a half a season, more or less. Okay. Even though he's had injury issues, and then he was also a top pick. I know Drake was taken actually in the second, and I was a big believer in Drake early.
You were, and didn't we say initially before the NFL draft when Drake was selected, didn't we say the Alabama thing kind of worked against him? Because everybody, I never believed in the school-specific running back curse.
Okay, I think you've made that argument. I've always said
I
think that
he was actually a third-round pick.
Okay.
Now, but
I know Matt Waldman hated him.
Hated Kenyon Drake.
Hated him.
Yeah. All right.
So it's fine. He gets funny things right, but he did.
You know what I was watching the other day?
I like Bishop Sankey. We all get stuff wrong.
The miracle in Miami, that final play where the Dolphins, had that 60-yard catch and lateral thing. Where they beat the Patriots in Miami, and Drake was the guy who ran the last 30 yards. Yeah. And I was like, how did the Dolphins let this guy get away? And then he absolutely was off. Funny. I mean, how many times did we have a guest on late last season? And it's like, okay, let's look at your roster, how you won the championship. Oh, Tyler Higbee. Oh, Kenyon Drake. Those were 2 of the major components, included with Nate here winning his title. Sorry, Dave. Go ahead with. No,
I was just wondering if Nate, did you have any more comments? That we just rambled on for about 2 minutes and talking pretty much about loving Drake, hating Drake. What do you love the Drake though? Obviously.
Well, I like Drake, and I could see maybe he wouldn't get quite the same workload next year. But I'm also hoping that Arizona's offense is improved as well, so maybe that sort of balances out whatever he might lose in a few touches.
Talking with Nate Harris, the FFPC 500 number 28 Dynasty champ from last year. Question from the chat for you, Nate, here. Casmo11FF wants to know, as a Drake owner, what is Edmonds worth as a handcuff right now? And I'm going to frame this. I'm going to actually get even more specific here. Let's say it's after the draft. Let's say Arizona does not add a running back at all, or maybe they draft some guy in the 7th round. What would you do with Edmonds? Would you give up like a decent rookie pick for him? Like, let's say like a mid-second, early second, something like that. Is he worth that much, or are you not a believer in handcuffs in general?
I probably wouldn't give up a second. I'm not a big handcuff believer unless it's just a really potent offense like Kansas City's, or if I just believe in the talent of the players to cuff. So I probably wouldn't give more than maybe like because then I have to, my total roster number and everything else on top of it.
Yeah, that is true. He's the type of guy too. Like if you're in not a closed 12-team league, but if you're in FFPC main event, Football Guys Players Championship, a lot of times too, I think I'm less inclined to draft handcuffs then because I'm trying to go for broke to a certain extent. And the thing is too, it's like Edmonds did show he can do it, but if Drake were to go down, would Edmonds be the guy? I'm not so sure. He might be the lead guy.
Right.
I don't think he'd be the guy. Dave, as the gears are turning over there, the steam's raising. Are you working on something?
No, I'm just getting ready for the next question.
Okay, I thought
you finished off all your.
No. I thought you were working on something with Drake. That's okay. Sorry.
No, I was not. Actually, what I was doing was creating a brand new Dynasty League.
Oh, there you go.
So, new 250 starting on Tuesday.
All right, perfect.
On Sunday's West Bill. Anyway, what is your opinion? And this is for our wonderful guest Nate, of rookie draft picks this time of year? Do you generally some people you've had on end up trading them all for proven players? Or do you try and keep them for yourself, hoard them a little bit? How do you handle the rookie picks?
I guess it would depend on where my team is. If I'm, I'm at a point where I feel like I need one more piece to win that year, I might steal it for somebody that's like an AJ Green or somebody that could put me over the top that 1 year. But generally, I feel like I like to hoard them at least until the draft because I feel like people really – during the rookie draft is when their value is at their highest and people are willing to trade more for them at that point.
That's what you always say, Balky. You always want to get them sold on draft day, right?
You wait until the last possible moment. Like Nate's right too. Like if you're able to play in a cool FFPC Dynasty League, not like the deadbeat Dynasty Leagues that you and I play in, Dave.
Ain't that the truth?
Where you can on the clock, that's when you're going to get maximum value for them too. So I think that's the way to do it. And obviously Nate won a league doing just that. Nate, tell us a little bit about. I want to talk specifically about one of the trades that you had made this past offseason. You shipped out Robbie Anderson, the new Panthers receiver. This is prior to him signing with Carolina, and then you get back the up-and-coming tight end in Buffalo, Dawson Knox, and then you also get Auden Tate, the Cincinnati Bengals receiver. Talk a little bit about why you decided to do that deal.
Well, I've had Robbie for a few years, and I like him, but I feel like he's perpetually boom or bust, and I never know what weeks I want to start him in. And like you said, that was before I went to Carolina, so I'm not sure how that might change when he's in Carolina. But to get back Dawson Knox on a kind of a tight end needy team, and I liked what he did in his rookie year, and I kind of feel like he can, keep amping that up in year two. And Auden Tate, I just like the talent, and I feel like he has potential to be maybe like a steady low-end wide receiver too at some point, maybe not this year, but in the future. So I felt like that was a good return on Robbie, who I just never knew when to start.
Yeah, Dave, I'm gonna fly my Florida State flag again. Auden Tate, baby. Think catching passes from Joe Burrow. John Ross, always hurt. AJ Green, our thoughts about him, always hurt. It's like it could be
Tyler
him.
Boyd, always awesome.
Well, always awesome, yeah. But there's room for another receiver there. His name is Tate, so I like that quite a bit. You like Dawson Knox, Dave?
I love.
I'm starting to like him quite a bit, actually.
Yeah, he was one of those in that RotoViz tight end model that they had. He was highly rated last year coming in, so we talked about him quite a bit, and there's comparables to a season of Mark Andrews' rookie season. So
yeah,
that's interesting, and there's a lot of things going on in Buffalo that are right. So
I'll give you one guess what round he is going in FFPC best ball. You get one guess at this.
Dawson Knox. I'm gonna be wrong. 8th.
14th. Insane value right now.
Okay, that's really late.
14th.
I was really off.
Tight end 25. Give me all the Dawson.
Why are you having me guess?
Well, because I wanted to get curious. I was curious what you would.
Hey, Nate, when do you think Auden Tate's going in FFPC best ball?
I can tell you right now where he's going. It's going to be super late.
Dawson Knox a lot earlier than that.
Yeah. No, I would too. I wouldn't wait around to the 14th round to take Dawson Knox in an FFPC. By the way, Auden Tate, wide receiver 104 in the 27th round.
27th.
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
Moving on.
Not going into the 27th round is Julian Edelman. He was one of your receivers on your championship squad. I'm not sure if you still have him or not. How concerned are you about his production without Tom Brady? And then he's always, getting drunk and, making an ass of himself in public and, and having sex with people, and then they make tweets. What about his
Edelman,
antics?
by the way, is not being prosecuted for jumping on that Mercedes in L.A. He's not being prosecuted.
I heard that.
He's in the clear.
He settled it. Anyway, tell us about Julian Edelman without Brady.
I mean, I am concerned about his value. He was sort of a late season trade acquisition this last year as like a all in trying to win it. And but I just don't know what I could really get in trade value for him right now, because I feel like everybody's probably on the same boat, worried about what his usage would be like without Brady there anymore.
Julian Edelman in FFPC best ball, not Dynasty. In best ball right now, he's going at the 8-11 as wide receiver 35, right behind Will Fuller and Marquise Brown, right ahead of Jerry, Judy, and C.D. Lamb. So
I feel that's cheap.
I think so too. You think about this too.
What do you think, Nate?
Yeah, go ahead.
For redraft.
Sorry, what was that?
Nate, your thoughts on Julian Edelman? Your thoughts on Julian Edelman's redraft value at the end of the 8th round?
I mean, I feel like last year he was going in early 4th or something like that. So I'm not too surprised that he's dropped off quite a bit.
I think that for me, it's like, if it's Jarrett Stidham who takes over or Brian Hoyer or whoever, they could still get Cam Newton for God's sake. And you look at who's he going to focus on? Who's the big playmaker in that offense?
Well, it's not like Brady was even a top 15 quarterback. He was like in the 20s, if I recall correctly, as far as yards and touchdowns go.
And Edelman was still great.
Yeah, so if Edelman's in the same role and he's still wide open, the key, though, is that the quarterback, whatever it is, has to be able to figure out and run the Perkins offense so that he's on the same page. And then Brady and Edelman have always been, so dialed into each other. So there is that argument.
FFPC 500 Dynasty League number 28 champion Nate Harris joining us tonight here on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak. We're going to talk about Brandon Cooks again here, because not only was he traded to the Texans earlier this week, but you actually made a deal in your Dynasty League for him, Nate. You gave up Corey Davis and Tyler Higbee, and you got Brandon Cooks back. Now, I know your thought process it's not the same as it was, because now he's on Houston. But talk a little bit first about why you did this deal, and then secondly, what you think Cooks is going to do in Houston this year.
I made the deal because I guess initially with Corey Davis, I've just gotten to a point where I feel like he's never going to live up to anything what his draft value was going in the first round, especially on a run-first team. And Tyler Higbee was a nice pick for me last year, but I kind of feel like his heavy targets last year were sort of a function of a dysfunctional offense. I think if the Rams do what they want to do, they're not going to be doing a lot of short passing. So that was sort of my thinking when Cooks was still there. And I still feel like Cooks is a possible bounce back despite his injury concerns. And on my team specifically, I really needed sort of with Michael. I felt like I was picking up a couple of high-risk players that in for somebody with some upside to kind of help out my wide receiver 2 slot.
Yeah, and the great thing about acquiring Cooks in Dynasty, and I think Dave and I touched on this at the top of the show. We still think he's going to put up numbers this year. He might make for a nice little flip at the end of the 2020 season too if he does put up good numbers in Houston. And obviously, the Texans will find some way to trade him, because that's what happens in life: death, taxes, and Brandon Cooks being traded. And then you might be able to get some good assets for him on exchange. You never know. I mean, he should have some good years ahead of him, even though it feels like he's been in the league for about 10 years. He was another young guy, too, coming into the league.
He was 20 when he came in the league.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah. Or he's going to retire. I mean, like Calvin.
I don't know. I mean, the only way that he would retire is if the concussions just totally knock him out, and he's like, okay, I want to live here, so I'm gonna retire. 5 concussions already. If he gets a 6th or this season, I think then you got to be worried about it. But you know what? And I'll bring this up.
So you don't worry about the first 5 concussions?
No, I'm still worried about those. But I'll bring this up, too. When Davante Adams was a free agent in a couple of years ago, not a free agent, but he was coming into his contract year, and the Packers ended up locking him up, and a lot of people were concerned, you're going to give all that money to Davante Adams, who has had a lot of concussion issues himself. Now, he's probably only had like 2 or 3, not 5. But at the same point, he's been healthy the last 2 years as far as concussions go. He had that leg injury. So you never know with these things. I mean, maybe they happen, maybe they don't.
All right, well, that's your
point.
Right. I don't really. I'm not. What do you think, Nate, about concussions?
Okay, go ahead with Devin Singletary.
All right,
Nate. Sorry. Yeah.
No, go ahead. I'm going to ask you a different question. What do you do with a guy like Devin Singletary in Dynasty leagues right now? And how likely is it that they're going to add a rookie running back to the team in Buffalo?
Well, I don't own any Devin Singletary, so I haven't put a lot of thought about it, but I feel like the people that do own him probably want a fair amount to sell. So I guess if I had him, I probably wouldn't move him either without a solid offer. But I'm not sure that I think they still have TJ Yeldon on the team, right? And Frank Gore's presumably gone, so I'm not really thinking they're going to spend a lot of draft capital on a new running.
You know what's funny about that is Roster Watch, our good buddies at Roster Watch actually tweeted this out. Brandon Beane, who's the GM of the Bills, said that Singletary, quote, definitely could be the, quote, workload guy. Again, no Gore, as you just pointed out, Nate, but we'll have to find out if they do add somebody in the draft. Singletary averaged 5.1 yards a carry last year, but when they got to short yardage situations, it was Frank Gore, it was Josh Allen carrying the ball. I drafted Devin Singletary as my number 2 running back in one league so far this year. I feel good about it. I think he's going to break out this year, Dave. Your thoughts on Singletary?
I think he broke out last year.
Towards the end, yeah.
I think he's a lot of people like him. The team's talking him up.
Yeah.
There's what's not to like about Singletary other than the fact that I just generally don't like. I don't like his skill, his metrics, but he looked good playing last year. So even I might have to draft him once in a while.
The last 2 or 3 years, the Bills have had a pretty good offensive line, too, and now you have Dawson Knox in his second year. You trade for Stephon Diggs. You still have John Brown there. Cole Beasley running stuff over the middle. Josh Allen looks more than capable. I think that Bills offense is being underrated in general. Let's see if we can sneak in an email here from you. Nate, this is from Tim in Cleveland. Do you have a favorite prospect in the NFL draft right now, or doesn't it matter because you want to see their landing spots first? Thank you for the email. That is Tim in Cleveland. Yeah, Nate, this is always interesting because we can fall in love with the talent of some of these guys, but then when the players actually go to their chosen destinations, their fantasy value can change quite a bit. Are there any rookies that you particularly really like the skill set, eager to see how they translate to the NFL field?
I haven't really dug into a lot of the rookie prospects yet. Just got my rookie scouting portfolio, and I'm certainly interested in seeing where people go during the draft. So, I know a lot of the names. I hear a lot of people talk about them, but I haven't really signed on to any that I specifically want to draft to my teams.
Dave, one of these years what I'm going to do is I'm going to totally ignore all the rookie and the draft talk, and I'm not going to start assessing players until after the NFL draft. And then I'm going to do my rookie drafts and see how they turn out.
Well, this will make for one hell of an interesting show those years.
That's true.
I can't wait.
Maybe it's fun to do in practice, but I can't really do in real life.
You'll just ask questions and be like, oh, yeah, never heard of him.
What's the guy with this Jerry Judy? Hey, what's going on with him?
Jugs?
Running back, tight end? What is anyway, one more email here for you, Nate, as long as you got a little bit of time. Ryan in Los Angeles. Since Phillip Rivers likes to throw to his running back so much, should we be upgrading Nyheim Hines at a minimum for redraft leagues? Thanks, Nate. That is Ryan in Los Angeles. Just as an FYI, Nyheim Hines over the last 7 days in FFPC best ball drafts is going at the 1204 as the 47th running back selected. How do you fall in on this? Should we be a big believer in Hines' receptions going way up this year, Nate?
Well, I like Nyheim Hines, and I have traded for him in a league or two, and it hasn't really panned out. And I guess am I assuming that Phillip Rivers is going to throw to his running back regardless, or now that he has a better offensive line, presumably in Indianapolis, perhaps he's going downfield more? I'm not really sure how that's going to pan out. And you said he's going in the 12th round. I mean, maybe that works out.
I like him in the 12th round quite a bit. Actually, the guys at the Chasing the Helmet podcast, Jay Reed and Scott Connor. Scott had actually they live tweeted, they didn't live tweet, but they did a live podcast doing an FFPC Best Ball Slim a couple of weeks ago. And Scott was talking about how much he liked Nyheim Hines for that reason, as Hines has always been a pass catcher, and you look at Phillip Rivers throwing the ball to his running back so much. Now, will he throw it as much to him now that he has a much better offensive line, as Nate points out? I'm not sure, but I'd be willing to take the risk in the 12th round. I'm definitely on board with that. Nate has been incredibly gracious with his time tonight, Dave. We have one final question before we let him go enjoy his Easter.
All right, here we go. Who is a veteran player you should try and trade right now, as in get rid of, as well as a player you really want to acquire on the cheap at the moment?
Well, the one I acquired on the cheap was a little easier because I did it just recently, trading a third-round pick for Emmanuel Sanders on a team that I'm trying to challenge for a championship this year, and I feel like another year removed from his injury, the Saints seem like they always struggle with their second wide receiver, and I really like the talent of Sanders, so I feel like he could be a producer. But as far as a veteran sell, that was a little tougher to come by. I do have Mark Ingram on my team. I feel like he's probably got another decent year in him, and I just am not sure that I could get a type of value in a trade right now that would make me want to move him, even though I feel like probably this year is potentially his last where he's particularly productive.
Mark Ingram is a guy I own in a couple of Dynasty leagues, Dave, and he's really helped me crush it the last couple of years, but maybe this is the time to sell off on him right now if he does hit the cliff at the end of 2020.
To me, he's kind of that. I feel like that window is kind of not open. I just feel like...
You don't think you could get just like... Well, Nate's out there doing it. He can't get value for him.
Well, that's the thing is that he's like the Edelman of that position. You know?
Right.
I mean, like I would hang on to Edelman and Ingram until they both, from an NFL perspective, croak.
Yeah.
Whatever, and just,
yeah, that's a good point.
Like the Hines Ward, run him into the ground, and then, that was fun. Like, I still have Fitz on a team. What am I do? Trade Fitz now? Or trade, like 3 years ago, I could have traded Fitz for nothing. I could trade him for nothing now. It's the same thing.
I think it's a little bit different, but I get where you're coming from. They're all from the same family. They're all cut from the
Fitz
same
is way low, but
right.
The other guys are not as bad.
No, there's something to be said for that. And I think Nate has said plenty tonight, plenty of which I agree with, and very insightful stuff. Nate, thanks so much for hopping aboard tonight. Good luck in all your leagues this year. Congratulations on the 500 number 28 championship last year. And happy Easter, dude. Thanks for hanging out with us. We had fun.
Yeah, same to you. I had a good time. Have a good night.
Thank you so much. Nate Harris, ladies and gentlemen, the FFPC 500 number 28 Dynasty League champ, former Football Guys League champ, former Best Ball champ as well. Good stuff from Nate, and learned a little bit of fisheries, too. That was good.
Yeah. I really enjoy eating a lot of salmon.
Was it Kaz was posting in here tonight that he had salmon for dinner? Was it Kaz?
Yeah, it was. I forgot what he... Yeah.
It was sockeye, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if he said it was a cedar plank or whatever.
Yes, yeah, cooked it on a cedar plank. You ever had cedar plank salmon?
Yeah, I've had it.
That's good stuff. That is really good stuff. You know what I'd like to do is I have all these salmon fillets at home, and
I usually cook it on pine myself, so I get some of the pine stuff.
Okay, are you being serious? I can't
No,
tell
I'm
if you're
kidding.
messing. Okay. But I have all these salmon fillets at home, and now it's getting a little bit warmer out. Well, I've been cooking all this venison lately.
Okay.
But I think the salmon I'd like to throw on the grill, too. I bet that would be pretty tasty.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Sure, why not?
All right, speaking of tasty, or maybe not tasty, I don't want to ruin it for everybody. Everybody, longtime listeners know that Dave and I make separate wagers throughout the season as far as what we think is going to happen to sort of guide people in the right direction, be it in drafts, be it in setting lineups, blind bidding, what have you. We call it the I Got 5 on It board. And each bet we make is for, ostensibly, $5. And we keep track of all these bets. Now, for the first time ever this year, we're going to total them up tonight, since this is our last show of the season. We're going to total them up. I have not only the full record as far as who won season to season, I have each and every bet, the total for that. Dave, in the course of 8 years of this show, You and I have made 226 bets. I have the full record of that.
That's pathetic. We should have way many more bets.
Well, 226 divided by 8, what is that? You're the math guy. Is that like 20-some a year? 25, 26 a year? That's about right.
Yeah, I know. That's
one every other week?
Should be more.
All right, we'll try to increase it this year. All right, so let's kick it off. Let's go through the bets last year, and I'm going to tell everybody who won each of these. January 18th, 2019. Will Antonio Brown be on the Steelers roster week 1 of the 2019 season? I said yes. Dave said no. He was on the Raiders for week 1. Dave wins that one. The following week, January 25th, who scores more points this year? Phillip Rivers is who I said. Dave said Jimmy Garoppolo. And this is an interesting one. Rivers ended up with 327.1.
Stupid Garoppolo.
Jimmy Garoppolo, 322.6. So I ended up winning that one by about 5.5.
Oh,
very razor thin. All right.
So that's it's interesting. We could differ on that way back when.
Yeah.
And it ended up being that close.
That close, yeah.
It was a worthy bet.
But we both felt strongly about it. Like, you're an idiot. No, you're an idiot. And then we ended up being off by 5.5 points. All right, February 15th. Kareem Hunt will be suspended more than 8.5 games. I said yes. Dave said no. He was suspended for, you guessed it, 8 games.
Yes.
Dave wins that one by half.
Hey, if you can't buy that half a point, you got to find a different book.
Yeah. All right, March.
A wise friend Leroy told me that.
That's true, yeah. March 1st, more FFPC fantasy points. I said, of course, Corey Davis, 106.7. Dave said Mike Williams, 155.5. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm officially off the Corey Davis bandwagon.
I thought you were going to say Isabella on that one.
No. Well, there's an Isabella bet coming up.
I figured
Don't
there
worry.
might be 5 or 6, so hopefully I only lose 1 or 2.
Yeah, no. Actually, the Isabella one might be for 2020. I think the Isabella one's for 2020. Right. Yeah.
He'll play in 2020?
I'm totally off Corey Davis now entirely. I said, hang on, it's coming. And you know what's funny? I own him in one Dynasty league, Dave. In that Dynasty league, you know who I drafted as my first-round pick last year?
No.
A.J. Brown.
That's nice. Smart.
And so now I still get the number 1 Titans receiver.
Yeah, that works out.
Can ditch Corey Davis. All right, March 15th. Baker Mayfield finishes worse than QB9. I said yes. Dave said no. He finished at QB 17, so I won that one.
Wow, I wasn't even close.
April 19th, Tyreek Hill, over or under a 7-game 2019 suspension? I said under. Dave said over. I won that one as he didn't get suspended, right? There was no suspension. Yeah.
Nope. Man, that must have been a low moment for Tyreek.
All right, May 3rd, 2019, Devontae Freeman, I said would finish as a top 12 running back last year. Dave said no, he finished as RB19. Big win for the Dizzle. May 10th. Oh, there's an Isabella bet. I'm sorry. Kyler Murray is a top 15 quarterback in 2019. I said no. Dave said yes. He finished as quarterback 9. Dave wins that one. Andy Isabella, same date. I think these bets were made within minutes of each other. Andy Isabella is a top 40 wide receiver in 2019. I said no. Dave said yes.
140.
Dave,
was he 140?
Then you would have won. He was finished at wide receiver 125.
I almost had it.
All right. May 24th, Eli Manning starts 9 or fewer games last year. I said he will. Dave said he wouldn't. He started 4. So Balky wins that.
That was a really good job by you.
Well,
on that
didn't he get dinged up and then Jones they gave him the job?
Yeah, but I mean, at that time, he was healthy and they were going to say, he's the quarterback. They always say that crap.
Right.
But that was a shrewd bet. Good job.
All right. So speaking of close bets, here we go. July 21st, Hunter Renfrow, 49.5 catches. I said under, you said over. You know where he ended up? 43.
Oh,
so man. I won that one by 6.5.
He really did come on late, though.
He came on way late. He's a sleeper this year that we're not talking enough about.
We're not. And we did like him last year. And I really liked him this year.
By the way, the Chasing the Helmet guys really like Hunter Renfrow late, too.
Yeah, Renfrow.
All right. This was one of the fun ones. I was really looking forward to how this was going to turn out. Okay. Combined starts for Alshon. This was July 29th. Combined starts for Alshon Jeffrey and Sammy Watkins. Okay.
We both saying they were injury free.
Right. We set it at 24.5. I said it would be under that. You said it would be over that. Jeffrey started 10 games.
Okay.
Watkins started 12.
Damn it!
So I won that one by 2.5. But again, how dialed in were we on that?
Again, that was pretty close. Yeah.
We really set the total at the right spot. Okay. Same day.
Thanks a lot, Jeffries.
July 29th. More points in the FFPC. I said Miles Sanders. You said Jordan Howard. Miles Sanders, 212.6. Jordan Howard, 111.4.
Good job.
All right. August 23rd. Apparently, we took a month off of betting. I don't understand that. This is a battle of the bulky guys that he loves. More points last year. I said Devin Singletary. You said Ronald Jones. Who do you think won this one?
Singletary, I think.
Singletary at 149.9. But remember, Ronald Jones came on. He finished with 156.7.
All right.
So you actually won that one.
Woohoo!
All right. Now we get into the weekly bets. Who scores more week? These are always fun. More week 2 FFPC points. I said Mohamed Sanu. You said Kiki QT. This was a pillow fight. Sanu I won with 5.6. QT had 2.7.
I can't believe I bet on QT.
I know.
That's how bad Sanu is.
It's ridiculous.
Hey, at least he was worth a second-round pick for the Patriots. I mean, dude, that's like a Bill O'Brien level trade there. That's terrible.
Moving on, we made 3 weekly bets this week. This is the battle of the Patriots running backs. More week 2 points. I said Sony Michel. You said James White.
Give me that one.
Michel had 14.5. James White at 11.9.
Crap.
All right, now here's a fun one. More FFPC points from week 2 on. I said it'd be LaShawn McCoy plus 70 because you gave me plus 70 on this one. And you said it'd be, it says D. Williams. I'm assuming that's Damian Williams.
Not Darrell Williams.
I don't, but minus 70. Well, Williams had 93.2. McCoy had 112.3. So I won that one going away. All right. I always wonder how we get into these. September 20th.
Yet in the Super Bowl, McCoy didn't even play.
Right, he was inactive.
Anyway.
September 20th. Ertz, over or under 15 targets, but it was only triggered if Alshon Jeffrey and Deshaun Jackson were out. Okay? They were both out. So this is active.
I love how you or Rob had to check this.
Right. This was, I said over, you said under. It was, in fact, 7, even though those guys are out. So you won that one.
All right, good.
More FFPC weak points.
I think I can remember that conversation. You're like, he's going to have like 17 targets if they're both out. Like, he's not going to have 17 targets.
Right, yeah. I was wrong. I was 100% wrong. More week 3 points. I said David Johnson. You said Frank Gore. David Johnson, 4.4. Frank Gore, 16.9. Congratulations.
That's awesome.
Somehow we bet a total on this one.
I'm glad I could get Frank Gore over David Johnson.
Green Bay, Denver, 43.5 was the total. I said under. You said over. And I didn't write it down here, but I believe it was like 37 or like 34, so I ended up winning that one. Yeah.
All right.
I don't know why we're betting totals, but whatever. All right. Then we made more week 4 points, more week 4 fantasy points, only if they were both active. I said Terry McLaurin. You said Stephon Diggs. McLaurin was inactive, so this was null. Okay. Right. September 27th. Okay. So remember we made a bunch of bets with John Terry and Kern Reeve.
Yeah.
Okay. So
some of those.
This was one of them. Yeah. Paris Campbell.
Kern is tuning in. So
okay, this is perfect.
Get your pencil out, Kern. You're going to write some checks.
We said that Paris Campbell would score under 12 points in week 4 versus John Terry and Kern Reeve, and he scored 7.5. So you and I won that one.
Woohoo.
Okay. Moving on to October 11th. This is another one. We said Adrian Peterson would be under 13 in week 6, and he scored 15.6. So we lost that one to Terry and Reeve.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on. This is this was another one. They said Josh Hill would be over 11 points in week 8. We said under. He scored 8.4 FFPC scoring.
All
so
right.
we won that one. All right, back to you and me.
Is that all of them?
That was all of them.
So
yeah.
each owe us $5.
They each owe us $5.
So you each owe us half a beer at Caesars.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll buy the other half. How about that?
There you go.
All right. Now we move on. This is an interesting one. Remember we got into an argument on November 1st when we started offering best ball drafts for the following season? At what point?
Yeah, I was wrong.
So did the FFPC offer best ball leagues before the Super Bowl in January? I said yes. You said no. And they didn't. We offered them on January 19th of 2019. So I got that one. I don't understand how we got on. We made a lot of bets on November 1st. What will Josh Gordon do by week 17?
Show someone. Oh, was it multiple choice? Smoke pot, get suspended.
I don't really understand this. I get it. What will he do by week 17? I said he'd have 5 touchdowns. You said he'd have a failed test or be suspended. He had 0 touchdowns and he was suspended by week 15. So you win that one. Congratulations.
All right, I'm giving myself a pat on the back for that one. That was good.
More week 9 fantasy points. I said Josh Allen. You said Matt Ryan. I won 28.1 to 18.4.
Nice. More
week 11 fantasy points. I said Kenny Galladay. You said Terry McLaurin. You win 9.9 to 4.4.
Wow. Terrible.
Somehow we got under a Steelers running back discussion on November 29th. More fantasy points in Week 13. I said Benny Snell. You said Jalen Samuels.
I got crushed. Right?
It was a Snell game. 13.7 to 7.4. I won. Then we got into a tight end argument that same day. I said Jacob Hollister would outscore Jack Doyle in Week 13. Hollister 13.4. Jack Doyle 22.3. You won that one.
All right.
Ian Thomas on December 6th. Over under in Week 14. This is one we made with Kern Reeve and Two-Packer. We said he would score under 10. They said that he would score over 10.
Who was it again?
This was Ian Thomas because Greg Olson was out.
Right.
He scored 16.7.
Yeah, that's a good bet.
So we owe Two-Packer and Kern on that one.
So, with Kern, we're even, or whoever won. Then.
Right, we're even with Kern. John Terry owes us half a beer, and we owe. So basically, John Terry has to buy Meyer a half a beer in Vegas, and then we're all square. All right, December 13th, more Week 15 fantasy points. I said John Brown. You said Tariq Cohen. Cohen had 15.5. John Brown 16.9. So I won that one. Ugh. Then we did the FFPC playoff challenge points. Your team versus my team. My team scored 293.85. You scored 332.9. Congratulations, you won that one. Then we did a divisional playoff challenge. This is the final bet of the season on January 10th. My team versus your team. Your team had 282.54. Mine had 330.85. I take home that one. That is the board. Whew. How did they end up?
I don't know.
Dave had 12 wins. I had 17.
Oh, I got killed.
For the first time in the history of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour, from a season-to-season standpoint, Dave, as we've now had 8 seasons under our belt, I now lead. 4 seasons. I have won.
No wonder you're doing the cumulative totals. You decided to bust that out now.
Oh, you wait till this last part.
All right.
I have 4 wins. You have 3 wins. And then one season, it was like 2015 or something, or 2013, we tied. So I'm 4-3-1 all time.
All right.
Now, you say, well, Balky, why don't you split it down by individual bet? Great job, and I already did it. As I said before the start of this, we have made 226 bets. One of them was a tie. Okay?
Okay.
I have won 113. You have won 112.
Wow.
Over 8 years of all the bets we made, 226, we are separated by 1. That's insane to me.
We should hug if it wasn't for the social distancing.
I brought this up with Stir Fry at the office.
That's amazing.
And he was in awe that he couldn't believe that we're 1 bet off. And as a recap,
it was Isabella that cost me.
It was Isabella, and I'm going to read now. Oh, yeah, okay. So we have already made 6 bets for 2020. Just to recap, and some of these actually happened last year. We made them. On November 1st, 2019.
Well, we're not going over those now, are we?
There's only 6 of them.
Well,
There's only 6 of them. We got a little time. November 1st, you and I made a bet who would score more points in the FFPC this year. Okay? I said DK Metcalf. You said Andy Isabella. I'm feeling pretty good about that one.
Oh, I got a shot too.
This one, I know you're feeling. I know you're feeling great about this one. On January 24th, I said T.J. Hawkinson to be a top 12 tight end in the FFPC in 2020. You said no. You still feel good about that. You think he's a massive bust?
I think he is a massive bust.
Okay. I have not ruled on this one. I'll let you. You don't have to concede, but on that same date, remember Odell Beckham at the national championship game was handing out wads of cash to LSU players. There was some talk whether it was real cash or fake.
Okay.
And we talked about, will he be suspended? I said no. You said yes. He hasn't been suspended yet. I don't really know if that's going to happen.
I'm sure it won't be.
Well, we'll see. Then we also made a Steelers running back bet. Well, kind of a Steelers running back bet. February 7th, I said Le'Veon Bell would have more 2020 FFPC points. You said James Conner. Still feel good about that? Would you still make that today, that Conner outscores Bell?
The Conner outscores Le'Veon Bell.
This season only.
I don't know. Maybe not. I don't think so at this point because there's a chance that someone gets drafted.
Okay.
Conner has to deal with Snell and Samuels a little bit, so maybe Bell.
Okay.
Yeah, who knows?
Here are the ones I gave you odds on, the last 2. February 28th, will Justin Jefferson be a first-round pick? I said yes, but I gave you 5-1 odds on no.
I feel real.
We'll see what happens. That might be worth it.
If it's 5-1, I feel pretty good.
With all those receivers, I mean, he could easily slip to the second round. I don't think he will. I'd still make that bet today. And then March 27th, just a couple of weeks ago, Eric Ebron finishes as a top 6 tight end in the FFPC. I said no. You said yes, but I gave you 6-1 odds.
It's 6-1.
6-1.
I'll take Ebron in the top 6.
Okay. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for our show and for Season 8 as we put a bow on it. I want to thank
new music. Woohoo!
Yes, new music on Friday. I've been slacking on that for basically a season and a half. Well, no, a season. I've been slacking on it. We're going to get some new music. Choices by the Dizzle, too, by the way, so you know it's going to be good. I want to thank Nate Harris. I want to thank the FFPC, Rob, Bryce, and, of course, each and every one of you. We are live next Friday, this coming Friday, for, you guessed it, the Season 9 premiere. We don't take any time off. No days off. 2019 two-time Dynasty champ Nick Sayers is actually going to be our guest. What?
We take 6 days off.
We take 6 days off, yeah. But no Fridays off. No Fridays off. Check out the Best Ball Slims, all the standard Best Balls, Dynasty Orphans, and, of course, get in on that FFPC main event early bird discount. Be on the lookout for the Football Guys Players Championship announcement. That's coming up. We will see you in Season 9. Stay at home. Stay safe. Your weekend
This has been another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com. That was broadcast live and heard around the world. Eric and Dave will be back next week with more analysis, interviews, and advice from a guest much smarter than they are. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk with you again next week.
We're on the scenic floor, even more so if we on tour. Me and E explore the country, wondering about the evening before. Trying to explain where the time went, while other rappers find a studio to grind in.
Here's how I know you're making me smarter at fantasy football. Now, I was telling Stir Fry, a.k.a. Aaron, who we mutually work with about this. A lot of times when I go over these bets, and sometimes I even look at it the next week or the next day, and I'll be like, why would I even make that? I mean, it's such a stupid bet, you know. But I feel like when I was going over this past season, there was none in there that I was like, the Freeman finishing as a top 12 running back, I was kind of like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have made that. The rest of them, I could see. Yeah. You know, I'm not necessarily getting better. I'm just not messing up as much as I used to.
I think you're maybe picking and choosing your battles more wisely.
Yeah, even though you're trying to goad me into it. Come on, Balky. Breeze versus Mark Sanchez this year.
I still don't believe I think I was told that was pride in the way with the Isabella Metcalf bet. That was a mistake.
Well, I mean,
that was way back when, though. It was a while ago.
What have, just curiously, you still own Isabella in all your leagues, right?
Yeah, I haven't traded him anywhere. I haven't cut him.
Yeah,
either.
you're not cutting him. I don't know what you would get.
We don't drop down like as deep as FFPC.
Right. Okay.
16.
All right. Well, more Isabella coming. More Isabella talk coming
Let's
in
not
Season
talk
9.
about Isabella anymore.
Thanks for listening. Stay safe. Appreciate it. Talk to you next Friday.